When Travis walked through the front door of Morrison's Hardware that Tuesday morning, expecting to find the place empty so he could meet with his buyer, he froze. Every single employee was standing there. 23 people lined up between the lumber displays and the paint section, arms crossed, silent. And at the front, behind the counter where I'd stood for 42 years, was me, smiling. "Morning, Travis," I said. "We've been waiting for you." Let me back up 6 months. My name is Robert Morrison, and I'm 67 years old. I've owned Morrison's Hardware and Lumber in Belleville, Ontario, since I took it over from my father in 1998. Before that, I worked alongside him for 15 years, learning every inch of the business. We ran out a big box store. We're the kind of place where farmers come in on Saturday mornings, and we know their names, what projects they're working on, whether their equipment is holding up. We cut keys, mix paint, and we've got a lumber yard out back where we'll help you load your truck and offer advice on whatever you're building. It's honest work, and it's been good to my family. My wife, Linda, died 3 years ago cancer. It was fast, and it was brutal. And when it was over, I threw myself into the store because I didn't know what else to do. My daughter Emma lives in Vancouver with her husband and 2 kids. We talk every Sunday, but she's got her own life out there. My son Michael works in Toronto. Finance, busy all the time. Good kids, both of them. They worried about me after Linda passed. Kept asking if I was okay running the business alone, if I needed help. That's when Travis came back into the picture. Travis is my nephew, my younger brother David's son. David died in a car accident when Travis was 14, and I stepped in as much as I could, helped with hockey fees, took him fishing, gave him summer jobs at the store. He was a good kid back then, worked hard, learned fast. After high school, he went to business school at Queen's, got his degree, moved to Toronto. We didn't see much of him for years. He'd show up at Christmas sometimes, always dressed sharp, always talking about deals and opportunities and his consulting work. About 8 months ago, Travis called me. He said he'd been thinking about family, about roots, about how much the store meant to him growing up. He'd just gone through a divorce, he said, and it made him realize what mattered. He wanted to come home, help me run the business, eventually take it over when I was ready to retire. "Uncle Rob," he said, and I could hear something in his voice that sounded like the kid I used to know, "I want to do what you did. Build something that lasts. Keep the Morrison name going." He was touched. He really was. Emma wasn't interested in the business, and Michael had his career. The idea of keeping Morrisons in the family, of having Travis carry on what my father started, it felt right. It felt like things coming full circle. So I said yes. Travis moved back to Belleville in April. He set him up in the office, started teaching him how we did things, our suppliers, our pricing, our relationships with contractors and regulars. He was enthusiastic at first, asking good questions, taking notes. But after a few weeks, he started making suggestions. We should update our inventory system. We should expand into tools and equipment rental. We should cut staff and go digital for ordering. "Travis," I'd say, "we've been doing it this way for decades. It works." "That's exactly the problem, Uncle Rob," he'd reply, not unkindly. "The world's changed. If we don't change with it, we'll get left behind. Look at what happened to Canadian Tire's competition. All those small stores that closed. We need to modernize or we'll be next." It made me nervous, but he had a point. I wasn't getting any younger, and maybe I was stuck in my ways. Linda used to tell me I was stubborn, so I listened. In June, Travis brought up estate planning. We were closing up one evening, just the 2 of us. And he said we should get things organized. "You don't have a proper succession plan," he said. "If something happened to you tomorrow, the business would be in limbo. We should set up a proper structure. Transfer some ownership now, gradually, so there's no tax issues or legal mess later. It's smart planning, Uncle Rob. Responsible." He'd already talked to a lawyer, he said. Drew up some documents. Just a formality, he assured me. You maintain full control. You get a percentage of ownership on paper. And over the next 5 years, we transition. You can retire, enjoy yourself, travel. Jube earned it. He should have taken those documents to my own lawyer. He should have read every word carefully. But Travis was family. It was David's boy, and I was tired. The store was doing well, but managing it alone was wearing me down. The idea of having help, of eventually stepping back, it was appealing. He signed the papers on a Thursday evening in July. Travis had brought wine, said we should celebrate the beginning of a new chapter. We toasted to Morrison's hardware, to family, to the future. He seemed genuinely happy. He went home that night feeling like I'd made a good decision, like Linda would have approved. 3 weeks later, I arrived at the store on a Monday morning, and my key didn't work. He stood there in the parking lot at 6:30 in the morning, my key in my hand, staring at the lock. He tried again. Nothing. The deadbolt wouldn't turn. He walked around to the back entrance where we received deliveries. Same thing. My keys didn't work. My phone rang. It was Travis. Uncle Rob, he said, and his voice was different. Flatty, professional. I was going to call you this morning. There has been a change in plans. I've taken over full operations of the business. The ownership transfer we signed gives me operational control, and I've decided to exercise it. I'm implementing immediate restructuring. I couldn't speak for a moment. What are you talking about, Travis? What's going on? I'm protecting the asset, he said, like he was explaining something simple to a child. The business needs aggressive modernization. Your management style is outdated, and frankly, Uncle Rob, you're a liability now. I've consulted with financial advisors, and the best move is a full sale to a regional chain that's expanding into Eastern Ontario. eBay already got a buyer lined up. The deal closes in 4 weeks. You can't sell the store, I said. My voice sounded strange, distant. Travis, this is Morrison's. This is our family's business. Your grandfather built this. And now I'm monetizing it, he replied. It's just business, Uncle Rob. You get a payout. Don't worry. A note to retire comfortably. You should be thanking me. This is the smart move. I built this business, I said, louder now. I'm not selling it. Travis, whatever you think those papers said, you can't just lock me out and sell everything. That's not legal. Actually, it is, he said calmly. You signed over controlling interest. He had a very good lawyer draft those documents. You can consult your own lawyer if you want, but I'm telling you, it's done. The sale is happening. They suggest you accept it gracefully. He hung up. He stood there in the parking lot as the sun came up over Belleville. 42 years. My father's legacy. Linda and I had our first real conversation in this parking lot when I was 23 and she came in looking for garden supplies. I'd asked her if she'd ever planted vegetables before, and she'd laughed and said no, but she was determined to learn. I'd helped her pick out everything she needed, and then I'd asked if I could help her plant the garden, though, just to make sure she did it right. She'd seen right through me, but said yes. Anyway, we got married 2 years later. And now Travis, who I'd helped raise, who I'd trusted, was taking it all away. He got in my truck and drove home. My hands were shaking. He called Emma first. She was horrified. Dad, he can't do that. He can't just steal the business. Call a lawyer. Call the police. He called Michael next. He was at work, distracted, but when I explained what happened, I heard the shift in his voice. Dad, do you still have copies of what you signed? They're in my office at the store, I said, which I can't get into. Do you remember what the documents said? Any specifics? He tried to think back. It was pages of legal language. Travis said it was a gradual transfer, and I'd keep control. There was something about operational authority and decision-making power, but he said that was standard language, that it didn't mean anything practical. Michael was quiet. Dad, I think you might have signed over more than you realized. You need a lawyer immediately. Don't talk to Travis again without legal representation. He spent that Monday calling lawyers. The first 3 I tried couldn't see me for weeks. The fourth, Patricia Chun, had a cancellation that afternoon. He drove into her office in Kingston with my stomach in knots. Patricia was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. He explained everything. She listened without interrupting, taking notes. When I finished, she sat back. Mr. Morrison, I need to see those documents. But based on what you're describing, it's possible your nephew had you sign papers that transferred more authority than you understood. This isn't uncommon. Unfortunately, family members, people who are trusted, sometimes take advantage of that trust. Can I get the business back? He asked. Maybe, she said carefully. If we can prove fraud, misrepresentation, or undue influence. If the documents were misleading or you weren't given proper opportunity to review them with independent counsel. But I need to see what you sign. Do you have any way to access copies? He thought about it. The store has a back office. There's a window that doesn't lock properly. I've been meaning to fix it for years. He could get in that way. Patricia raised an eyebrow. I'm not advising you to break into your own business. But if you were to obtain copies of documents you signed, documents that belong to you, that would be useful. That night, I went back to the store. It was after 10, dark and quiet. He parked 2 blocks away and walked. The back office window, just like I remembered, was loose. I'm 67 and not as nimble as I used to be, but I managed to squeeze through. Inside, the store felt wrong. Travis had already started changing things. So many of the older displays were gone. There were new signs up about, liquidation sale coming soon. It made me sick. He found the file in the office. Travis had been arrogant enough to leave it right there in the filing cabinet. He took photos of every page with my phone, then climbed back out the window. My shoulder hurt from the climb, and I'd torn my jacket, but I had what I needed. The next morning, I sent everything to Patricia. She called me that afternoon. Mr. Morrison, this is worse than I thought. These documents are deliberately misleading. The title says, Succession Planning Agreement, but what you actually signed transfers 80% ownership and full operational control immediately. There is a clause buried in the middle that says you waive all management authority upon signing. It's disguised in legal language, but it's there. So, he has the business. My voice sounded hollow. Not necessarily. There are several problems with these documents. First, there's no indication you had independent legal counsel review them before signing. Second, the language is intentionally obfuscatory, which could constitute fraud. Third, and this is important, your nephew told you verbally that this was a gradual transfer where you retained control, but the actual documents say something completely different. That's misrepresentation. We can fight this. How long will it take? Months, probably. We need to file an emergency injunction to stop any sale while the case proceeds. We'll need witnesses who can testify about your nephew's statements and behavior. And we'll need to move quickly, because if he sells the business before we can stop him, it becomes much more complicated. Let's do it, I said. Patricia filed the injunction that Friday. The court scheduled an emergency hearing for the following Tuesday. In the meantime, I started calling people. First, I called every employee. My assistant manager, Gary, had been with me for 19 years. When I explained what Travis had done, he was quiet for a long moment. Rob, he said finally, Travis came in last week and had me sign something. Said it was an updated employment agreement. I didn't think much of it, but now I'm wondering what I actually signed. Did you keep a copy? Yeah, in my truck. Hang on. He heard him rustling around. Rob, this says I acknowledge that new management has full authority to make staffing changes and that my employment is at will with no notice required. Is planning to fire us all. He called the others. Same story. Travis had gotten all of them to sign new agreements without explaining what they actually meant. They were scared now, worried about their jobs. These were people who'd worked for me for years. Joanne on the cash had been there since before I took over from my dad. Darren in lumber had 3 kids and a mortgage. Travis was planning to throw them all away like they were nothing. Don't sign anything else, I told each of them. And I need you to write down everything Travis said to you when he had you sign those papers. That is, exact words if you remember them. Everything. We're going to fight this. By Monday, I had written statements from 17 employees. All of them describing how Travis had misrepresented the documents, rushed them into signing, assured them it was just a formality. The hearing was Tuesday morning at the Kingston courthouse. I wore the suit I'd worn to Linda's funeral. Patricia met me outside with her briefcase and a determined expression. Travis was already there with his lawyer, a slick-looking guy in an expensive suit. Travis didn't look at me. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Justice Margaret Williams. She read through our emergency motion, read Travis's response, and looked up at both of us. This is an injunction hearing, she said. Mr. Morrison, your lawyer is arguing that your nephew fraudulently obtained control of your business. Mr. Travis Morrison, your lawyer is arguing that your uncle signed legal documents of his own free will and is now experiencing seller's remorse. Let's hear it. Patricia went first. She presented the documents, highlighting the discrepancies between what Travis had told me and what the papers actually said. She presented affidavits from 3 employees describing how Travis had misrepresented other documents to them. She presented a timeline showing how quickly Travis moved to lock me out and arrange a sale, suggesting premeditation. Travis's lawyer argued that I was a competent adult who signed documents without reading them carefully, and that was my own fault. That Travis had every right to make business decisions as the majority owner. That I was simply upset about losing control and trying to use the courts to undo a legal agreement. Then Justice Williams asked Travis directly. Mr. Travis Morrison, did you tell your uncle that he would retain operational control of the business after signing these documents? Travis hesitated. I told him it was a succession plan. That's what it was. That's not what I asked. Did you tell him he would retain control? I said we would work together. Sir, yes or no? Did you represent to your uncle that he would remain in control of daily operations? Travis's lawyer whispered something to him. Travis straightened. I may have said something to that effect, but the documents are clear about the actual terms. Were you present when your uncle reviewed these documents with his own lawyer before signing? He didn't have his own lawyer. Did you suggest he should? I didn't think it was necessary. It was family business. Justice Williams looked at him for a long moment, then at me. Mr. Robert Morrison, did your nephew tell you to have a lawyer review these documents? No, Your Honor. He said it was just a formality, that it was simple succession planning. His family. He trusted him. She looked back at Travis. Mr. Travis Morrison, you have a business degree. You understand legal documents. Your uncle is 67 years old and has run a small hardware store his entire adult life. Are you really arguing that there was no imbalance of information or influence in this situation? Travis didn't answer. Justice Williams closed the file. I'm granting the emergency injunction. All transfers of ownership and control are frozen pending a full hearing. Mr. Robert Morrison is reinstated with full operational authority over Morrison's hardware and lumber, effective immediately. Mr. Travis Morrison, you are barred from the premises and from any contact with employees or suppliers until this matter is resolved. The locks will be changed today under court supervision. Full hearing is scheduled for 6 weeks from now. Hint Lemon, I suggest you try to reach, he told Patricia, not $1. He tried to steal everything, and he used my trust in him to do it. He betrayed his grandfather's legacy and his father's memory. I don't want him criminally charged because I don't want to put the family through that. But he doesn't get paid for trying to destroy us. Patricia went back to them. They countered with 30,000. He said no. 20,000. No. Finally, they agreed. Travis would sign a document relinquishing all ownership claims to Morrison's Hardware and Lumber, admitting that he had misrepresented the terms of the succession agreement, and agreeing to never contact me or any employee again. In exchange, I wouldn't press criminal charges. The final hearing was scheduled for late October. Both sides would present the settlement to the judge for approval. That's when I decided to send Travis a message. He called Gary and the other employees. I want everyone here next Tuesday morning at 8, I said. Before we open, I've got something planned. Travis was required to attend the hearing, but he didn't know we'd scheduled it early, so he'd have to come to Belleville the night before. Patricia's office accidentally let it slip to his lawyer that the hearing time had moved up, so Travis would need to stop by the store Tuesday morning to sign some final documents before going to the courthouse. It wasn't strictly necessary, but I wanted him to see something. Tuesday morning, October 27th, I got to the store at 7. Every employee came in by 7:30. 23 people. They asked them all to dress professionally, to look sharp. He explained what we were doing. Travis is going to come here this morning thinking he's signing papers and leaving. What I want him to see is all of us together, still here, still running Morrison's the way it's meant to be run. I want him to see what he couldn't destroy. Joanne, who was 62 and had worked the cash register since 1987, spoke up. Rob, I want to say something to him. Is that okay? If you want to. We arranged ourselves in the store, not blocking anything, not threatening, just standing there, present. A wall of people who'd built this place together. He stood behind the counter in my spot. At 8:15, Travis's rental car pulled into the parking lot. He walked in slowly. He saw all of us and stopped. Nobody said anything for a moment. Travis looked older than he had 6 weeks ago, thinner. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Morning, Travis, I said. We've been waiting for you. He swallowed. I just need to sign the papers. They're right here, Patricia said from beside me. She'd positioned herself at the counter, though. But first, these people have something they want you to see. Joanne stepped forward. Her voice was steady. I've worked here for 38 years. I raised 3 children on the wages I earned here. Morrison's paid for my daughter's wedding and helped when my husband was sick. You were going to throw all of that away for what? A quick profit? We're not inventory, Travis. We're a people. And we're still here. Gary spoke next. You lied to us. You lied to your uncle. You lied to your own family. I hope it was worth it, because everyone in Belleville knows what you did now. You can't come back from that. One by one, others spoke. Not angry, not shouting, just telling him what he'd tried to take from them, what it meant that we'd stopped him. Travis stood there, his face red, his eyes on the floor. When the last person finished, Patricia handed him the documents. Sign these, and this is over. You give up all claims, you admit misrepresentation, and you walk away with nothing. His hand shook as he signed. He didn't say a word. When he finished, he looked up at me, and I saw something in his face. Not remorse, exactly. Maybe recognition of what he lost. Not in money, but in something more important. Uncle Rob, he started. Don't, I said quietly. You're David's son, and I loved you. He helped raise you. He would have given you this business someday if you'd just been patient and honest. But you chose to steal it instead. You're not welcome here anymore. Not ever. He nodded once and left. He watched through the window as he got in his car and drove away. He never saw him again. The judge approved the settlement that afternoon. Morrison's hardware and lumber was fully and completely mine again, free and clear. Patricia sent me a final bill. Her fees were substantial, nearly $20,000, but she'd saved everything. I paid it gladly. That weekend, I had the staff over to my house. We barbecued in the backyard even though it was cold for late October, and we toasted with beer and talked about the future. Daddy asked if I was still thinking about retirement. Eventually, I said, but not yet. And when I do, I'm going to do it right this time. Set up a proper succession plan with actual lawyers who represent everyone involved. Maybe sell it to the employees. Make it a co-op, but that's down the road. For now, we've got work to do. Morrison's is still there on Front Street in Belleville. We updated a few things, brought in some new inventory lines, but kept the heart of what makes us who we are. We cut keys and mix paint and help people load lumber. We know our customers by name. I'm 68 now. Emma and Michael came home for Christmas last year, and we spent it at the store. I love us working the holiday sale together, like we used to when they were kids. My grandchildren helped stack shelves and thought it was the greatest adventure. I think about Travis sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. I think about how he could have had all of this legitimately. How he could have been part of something good. How trust, once broken, can't really be repaired. I think about my brother David, gone 24 years now, and I wonder what he would have thought about how his son turned out. I'd like to think David would have been ashamed, but maybe he would have been more forgiving than I am. Linda used to say that the worst betrayals are the ones that come from people you love, because those are the ones that teach you to doubt your own judgment. She was right about that, like she was right about most things. But she also said that recovering from betrayal, rebuilding what someone tried to destroy, that's how you prove to yourself that you were right to trust in the first place. Not right to trust them necessarily, but right to believe that trust itself still matters. I still believe that. Morrison's hardware is still here because 23 people trusted me enough to stand up and fight alongside me. Because a judge trusted that an old man who'd been lied to deserved justice. Because my kids, even from far away, trusted that I was telling the truth. Travis taught me to be more careful. But he didn't teach me to stop trusting. I won't let him take that from me, though. The store opens at 8 tomorrow morning. I'll be there behind the counter, ready to help whoever walks through that door. Same as I've been for 43 years. Same as I'll be for as long as I'm able. That's Morrison's hardware. That's my family's legacy. And that's what matters. This is Velvet Reckoning. If this story of cold justice and hard-earned redemption hit you hard, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell. You never know whose turn is next.